Where's Jens? I see Jens somewhere. Jens. I saw you there. He is in the back preparing something. Willow will guide us through the setup.
What's your name?
My name?
Streamers.
Oh, streamers. My name is Ilya. And then I will have my slide later on. So Willow, please take it over.
Cool. This was a Svelte community royalty. So, right. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I hope those of you who are at Local First Conf had a good time. Yeah. So, I guess first we want to thank BitCrowd for hosting us. And then maybe if Chris wants to say a few things about BitCrowd.
Yeah, I also brought a laptop. Now I'm missing an arm.
Oh, it's that easy.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's a when I look into the audience, it's really a honor and pleasure to have you all here. And that's entirely not what I wanted to show. Maybe we do this one instead. We're BitCrowd. We're an agency of 10 people. We are doing software development in Rust, Elixir, Rails, and Go. We are also working on a blue sky data plane in Elixir. And we're also working on specifying software and working with legacy software and doing design things and stuff. Which is another side project of ours, which is like analyzing legacy software and creating runnable specification from that. So if you want to jump ships and recode the whole thing in Rust, at least you can safely say what features were in there. Yeah, and that's us. If you want to hire us for software, please do. And also, if you want to do us a favor, just go to your, we're running an experiment. If you do want to do us a favor, please go to your AI agent of choice or to Google and whatever, and type in what's a good agency for choose your topic. And after that, just enter, and what about BitCrowd? We received some totally funny calls via that route. So please try that out. You can like whatever you want. And with that, I would hand over back to.
I'm going to sub for Willow for a second, because Willow is the only person who knows how to stream, I think, on our team, because she's the co-host of Svelte London Society, or Svelte Society London meetup. So if you ever watch the stream from London, it's Willow streaming it, like basically doing it with her own skills, her own equipment.
Okay. And then also the pizza is provided by CodeRabbit. Is Santosh here? Yes.
Yeah, I don't have my laptop, sorry. But hey, it's Santosh here. So I work at CodeRabbit as a developer advocate, and my job is to support my friends. That's what I tell everyone, that if there is an open source project, yes, probably you'll find me sponsoring that project. And yeah, and CodeRabbit is free for open source. So we have been giving from day one. So we don't count tokens as a funding. It's like $1 million we have, which we are distributing among many projects, and npmx is one of them. So if you know any good projects, just ping me. I'm on santosh.yadav.dev. You will find all the socials there, and feel free to ping me anywhere, and we'll work that out.
And you can also talk to Santosh about Lego and his favorite Lego model. You want to continue? Maybe like one remark about meetups. Like this is a community meetup. We'll talk about like the crossover thing. But like one thing is, for those types of community meetups to happen, you need sponsorship, because you usually need like a space. You need like food and drinks, and sometimes you need to cover the travel costs. So we wouldn't be able to do meetups without sponsors. So like it's super important basically to, also let them introduce themselves engage with them.
So if you want to sponsor us, you know where to find us. A few housekeeping things. Fire exits the way you came in, down there to the left. The men's toilets are there on the right, and then the women's is like just out there, and then there's some stairs to up. Yeah. We do have a code of conduct. It's very simple, like don't be a dick, basically. Yep, most of them are the same. So there's also the Svelte one. This is an interesting thing about doing these joint meetups. So yeah. And then yeah, as Iliad said, crossovers. This is atproto, npmx, and Svelte, which I guess is kind of a lot of our sort of special interests right now is atproto and Svelte, and then Nuxt View. Oh my god, npmx is Nuxt, so it's even more of a crossover. So, do you want to tell us a bit about Svelte, Berlin?
Yeah, but you are on the npmx team as a Svelte developer
Yes.
and the Svelte Society host in London.
Yeah.
All right.
And to write this slide, I needed to write some view code. It gets messy.
And it wouldn't work without Veet and then Patak, who is in the back, who is also a co-host, if I remember correctly. Okay, so me, Peter, please stand up. Flo, please stand up. We are the 3 co-hosts of the Svelte Society Berlin meetup. And we had like our inaugural last year. And then this is like the crossover event. And the next one will be on September 2nd at Data Wrapper. So if you want to sign up, you need to sign up because spaces are limited. You need to use this QR code or go to guild.host and then you will find us. If you want to speak at the Svelte Society Meetup Berlin, just write us an email. The email is there in the about page. What am I covering? I'm getting directions from the back. Exactly. And usually we do 2 or 3 talks, and then there's also pizza, and then we have time to chat, and sometimes we hit the next pub. Yeah.
And this is the schedule that has been changed, I think, since I wrote this. So that break, yeah, just sort of forget about that. And yeah, so we started late, so that's why. Yeah, we have awesome talks from Flo and Evelyn, who you might know from atproto and I guess some Svelte stuff. This event is cross-posted on atmo.rsvp. Yeah. And then speaking of pubs, this is where we will be going, hopefully, depending on room. It is the football tonight, so everything might be packed. But yeah, I think there's everything. So I'll hand you off to Flo. Cool. Putting the magnet in your shirt.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Someone is already doing it. You can scan this QR code. It should direct you to a Blue Sky post. And then if you comment under this post, it will appear under there. And we can all see what you think. So you can live roast me, I guess. Please be nice. Yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you. No. Twinkle rules. I want to show Svelte and atproto and the combination because I really like both things a lot. I'm Florian. I'm online. I'm Flowbit, and I build too many side projects. Always using Svelte I mean, I do have some Astro projects, I suppose, but mostly Svelte. And in the last, I don't know, 6 months, a lot of atproto stuff too. I'll probably show 1 or 2 in between somewhere randomly. So I like to make websites. There's a lot of stuff you gotta do if you make a website or a web app. The problem that I have is that I really only like the first part, the UI front end part. I don't want to deal with like account management. I don't want to deal with hosting. Like, I'm not a backend person, let's say. no, the database. Thank you very much. No thinking about syncing. I want to think, oh, now I have more than 2 users. What do I do now? I just like prefer to ignore all of that. And the nice thing for me is that like that's what I love the most about atproto. I'm sure there's different like opinions, but what I like most about atproto is that it does all of that for me, with some asterisk somewhere, I suppose. But it can do all of that for me. I don't have to think about it. So that's why I like it. But what is it actually? I think most people here were probably at Local First Conf and had like 4 pitches of what atproto is. Yeah, this might be a little bit take away from listening to me, but that's fine. That's fine. As honestly, if you take away, hey, that's some real cool shit, and I can do that with atproto, then I did my job, I think. So I'll do a like really quick 20 seconds atproto explanation that like leaves out basically everything. But I'll have some links at the end that explain stuff better if you don't know what atproto is. So the idea is everyone gets their own little server, personal data server. You put all your data on there, and then later you can also move it somewhere else if you want to. And data, like on your personal data server, there's a bunch of, I think, folders. Like it doesn't actually work like that. But I'm thinking usually if I think, hey, what is it? It's basically a bunch of folders that each have a name. We call those collections for some reason. And then in those folders, there are a bunch of JSON files. Also not actually true, but that's how I think about it. And those also have a type, right? So in every folder, there's supposed to be like those JSON files should all have the same structure. And that type is also published somewhere as yet another JSON file. Yeah, they're typed. And then we have one last thing that I think is important. You can point from one record to another. This URI here has 3 parts. The first one is my ID or someone's ID. And the second part is the folder. And the third part is the file, the JSON file. Everyone who now understands atproto, who didn't before, hands up. I don't know if that was enough. Was that enough? Yes, someone. Yeah, I'm skipping like lots of other stuff that's in there. Like I said, like if you really wanna, if I convince you to check out atproto, then there's some links at the end that actually explain what all of that is. I want to talk more about like actual like why would I use it? Yeah, and people like instantly try to hack it, of course, and like, can I do GIFs? No, you can't. I do have moderation. I have replies off, and now nothing new appears. I guess this is moderation. I'm turning it back on. No worry. Yes. Okay, so why would I use atproto apart from the hey, I just want to do some front end fun thing? There's also some other nice reasons. One of them is I can build an app and then I say, hey, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm bored. I want to do something else. Then it can still live on, right? Someone else can like resurrect it and use the same data. It's all like, but the data isn't with me, right? I just shut down my project, be like, here's the source code, have fun, peoples, and then someone else can resurrect it, and it's completely the same thing, right? Same experience. You didn't have to do anything except maybe change the domain of the app you go to. Similarly, someone can build something on top of my app or build the same app, but slightly different, looks a little bit different, but they all use the same data under it. And I can mix data from multiple apps, right? I'm doing that here. So those sprites are rpg.actor is one atproto app where you can like have your own little sprite thingy, and then everyone who doesn't have that gets like a random animal. And then there's also obviously Blue Sky comments in there. I did have also stream plays integrated, but sadly stream plays isn't working. But in theory, if you comment on the stream play stream, it would also show up. And one other thing also shows up that we'll see in a second. So those are all mixed together. I'll show one of my apps that also do that. That is this blend tool. Can I do light mode? It's like a little tiny page builder. You can like drag in blocks and then those show something. And what I want to show here is that all of those blocks actually show data from my account, but from other apps, right? So those are my blog posts that are published somewhere else, right? If I click on this and open it, and it loads, yeah, this is Offprint, which is like a blogging atproto app. And I can just show that here, and I didn't have to actually communicate with Offprint for that, just shows up. This is TLFM, shows what I listened to last. This is my latest Blue Sky post. I guess it's a little bit out of date. These are my my movie reviews, also on atproto. This is the meetup we're at, that's also on atproto. This is Germ DMs. This again is my RPG actor sprite. These are my npmx likes. npmx is also on atproto for anyone who didn't know. Currently, you can only like packages, but I'm sure there'll be lots of other stuff too. These are all the apps basically I'm using on atproto. This is my whole Blue Sky feed. This is something where I can listen to music. This is Playa FM on atproto, again, SoundCloud on atproto. This is open bookmarks on atproto. This, I think, either margin or sample. I don't know. Yeah. So all of those apps, and I didn't have to talk to any of those guys, right? Those are like now, I don't know, 20 teams working on all of these things, or 20 persons. But I don't have to talk to any of those. I can just be like, hey, I'm gonna show your stuff on my thing because I want to, and they can't do anything about it. So yeah, that's great. Wait, wrong direction. Okay, and you can also, so atproto is like a whole thing. It's a little bunch of different, like what I showed in the beginning, right? Authentication, accounts, data, sync, everything, but you don't have to use all of that, right? You can say, hey, I just want to use login, right? You log in with your Atmosphere account, and then I save all the data on my database. Like I wouldn't want to do that, but if you want to do that, you can totally do that. You can reuse someone's app view that I actually haven't explained what an app view is. We'll talk about that in a second. But what I'm saying is, hey, you again like reuse someone's complete data and just switch the front end out, right? I'll do another little example. So there was smoke signals dot events. Is that correct? Nope. What is it? Smoke signals dot like this dot events. Yeah, this is events on atproto. It actually shut down yesterday. You can't create events anymore. It's view only. Yeah. But that's not a problem because all the events that are here are also on atmo.rsvp, which is my version of events on atproto. And like there's some npmx meetup and that same thing. I mean, I don't actually know how to convert that URL, but I can find that too on Smoke Signal, and I can create events here on atmo.rsvp and they show up on Smoke Signal too. And then there's also openmeet.net, which again, same events, has some other features too, looks a little bit different. But if you create an event on one of those, they also appear on all the others. And talking about local first, I think you can also nicely integrate those two. Have some, like, I don't know, you have a blog app, you have local first, blog post drafts, and then you publish and it gets sent to your PDS. Berlin Chuck Norris. Okay. There's some problems too, though. I don't wanna lie. I don't wanna say it's all sunshine. In German, you'd say life ain't a, how do you say, Ponyhof in English? Well, whatever. No private data. Everything is public. I'm not looking anywhere.
There's prototype available. You can start testing it
Sure. There's like they're working on it. Someone is working on it. It will be there. That's also true. Yeah, but it's not the same thing because then you have your own database. Like for me, I don't want to have my own database. That's why I use atproto. And Happy View is. Haven't I built my own backend? Yeah, I did, but it's serverless, so it doesn't count. You know, serverless means there's no server. It runs in like the clouds, something. Yeah, also sadly there, you might, talking about that, right? You might still need a database, sadly. That database usually is then just like an advanced caching layer, I suppose. Because the thing is, right, you can say, hey, I want to look at my PDS and see like display everything that's on my PDS. But what if I want to see something that links to my stuff, right? I want to see like, I have an event on my PDS, but I want to know who is going, right, to this event. Then I can't just like look through all 45 million accounts and be like, okay, let me find that. No, I have to say like cache that somewhere basically, right? So you might actually still need a database. I'm very sad about that too. And you gotta figure out OAuth. Like this is the final hurdle. There's like you once you figure out OAuth, it's all nice, but it might be a bit of a struggle. Except if you use Svelte, then it's all good because I built something really nice for that. And I'm gonna do a live demo where I do a Svelte and atproto app where you can log in with OAuth and you can post a status, and then you can see a feed of the latest statuses and deploy it on atproto too in 5 minutes, which I'm sure will work out like this is gonna work. Okay. Okay, so let's go. Not Discord. So npmx sv create test Svelte atproto. Naming things is hard. Let's go through that. pnpm, so I don't get like hacked on stream. That'd be sad. Test Svelte atproto, and then I have npx sv add. Like there's community plugins that are kind of that you can use now. Svelte atproto. I named mine that, and that warns you that you shouldn't just like install random code. And there's also already a demo, which is nice. We're gonna obviously 5 minutes, and we want it to be like complete, and we gotta cheat a lot. We gotta set up some stuff. So we're switching to static. pnpm install that. And then we also have to set our base path. flow-bit.dev/test Svelte atproto. Okay, and we have a thing that tells us that we want to pre-render everything. That's also one of the nice things about atproto. You can actually do log in OAuth stuff without having to have your own server, right? It actually works on static pages mostly. Like once you get it to work, it works also there if you're lucky, maybe. That's like, let's hope I'm lucky. So we gotta change the paths because we move stuff around. Like I'm cheating obviously a lot by just like it's already the plugin already installed a demo that we're just using, but I have 5 minutes, so this is like sites. Is it sites.wisp.place? I'll explain what that is in a second, but it's basically static page hosting on atproto. I guess I explained it. Let me check if sites is correct. Yes. I think that's it. We pnpm built this, and then Wisp has a little thing that we can use to upload stuff. flow-bit.dev and the build directory, and we named the test Svelte atproto. And then OAuth to log in. And we're deployed. Let's see if that works. Okay, I have to sign in here, OAuth, sign in. All right, we write to one folder. And we can post something. And it's live. And we still have 1 minute 40. It's like, yeah, you can try that. And log in and post something. And that also appears on the slides. It's yet another integration where we remix everything. Yeah, so I have that link at the end too for the Svelte atproto plugin thing that you can like easily like just put OAuth in. You might still run into problems. Basically, I'm already done. That's actually it. All the rest is, hey, stuff you should, if you want to use atproto, that is useful. At the end, here's the Svelte atproto OAuth thing. The atproto, like the official docs, are actually pretty nice now. PDSL is something where you can take a look at your repository, like your public data server. Like these are all my folders, and then I can look like my Blue Sky post. This is the latest Blue Sky post. This is the one you commented under maybe. And there's lots of other stuff too, but mostly like you can look at. And this now doesn't really look like JSON. It's actually also not JSON, but I still think of it as JSON. Lexicon.garden, I also didn't explain what lexicons are. Those are basically the types of the JSONs. You can take a look at like different lexicons. Yeah, I mean, we can I love how atproto was like, hey, there's lots of names for existing things, but no, we'll just like make our own names for everything. So, and then partly like some of the names are actually fine. Some are really terrible. Anyways, I don't want to roast Blue Sky too much on stream, I guess. App view is just terrible. So app view, that's your backend. That's your caching layer, right? That they call it app view. And I don't know, yeah, terrible. Anyways, yeah. I guess now it's too late. Atcute is an alternative to like Blue Sky also has like all the TypeScript packages, but Atcute is better. I'm saying Atcute is better. For like doing all like everything, basically. You can imagine you want to do OAuth, writing records, reading records, having your own server, everything Atcute, everything atproto, and that you might want to do is in Atcute. And there's also official packages, but and then talking a little bit more of the terribly named backends. No. I'm just saying my terribly like app view is a terrible name. No, I was gonna shill microcosm. No, you should totally use microcosm because then you don't have to do an app view, right? npmx, for example, doesn't have an app view, right? They don't. But how do they show the likes of a package, right? That's the question. If I said, hey, you don't want to crawl through, like, look through all the accounts that exist, how can I, but you also don't have a backend, so no caching layer. How do I figure out who liked something? Microcosm basically looks at links inside of records and then saves everything, like all the records that have a link to something else, to another record or a website. And then you can say, hey, what records link to this? And it gives you everything. And so you can cheat your way around having a backend, which I really like. There's also Happy View, which is like an easy way to get your own app view set up if you do want that. I also made my own backend thing. Yeah, it's whatever. That's, yeah. I made that because I wanted it to run on Cloudflare Workers, because like I said, I'm really like, I don't want to do backend. So if I can like select a GitHub repository and be like deploy and it does it, then I'm happy. And it's also cheap. So yeah, Contrail. And then also actually explaining atproto. Really read like one of those. Those are pretty long. But Especially like I'd probably choose the first one, like for a general overview. It's just a really good article. That's the one I always share. How does atproto actually work? Why does it do what it does? Yeah. And you can open these slides. These slides, obviously, I didn't talk about Wisp. So Wisp is just like a little thing that reads your blobs, like your random data on your PDS. I also didn't explain blobs. Well, lots of stuff missing that you gotta find for your figure out for yourself. So you can also upload random data, not just JSONs. Those are blobs. And then Wisp reads those and some records, like JSON files you wrote, and then shows that as a website. So this is site.wisp.place, and then this is my account name, and then this thing is the name of the file, right? So if I look into PDSLS, and I look for Wisp, then I can see Svelte atproto presentation is here, and then it links to some blobs, some random. That's my zipped HTML files. So all of this is like, it's all, I didn't do anything. I don't have a server running, nothing. It's all on my PDS. And yeah, you can, if you want to look at the links especially, you can open this up. That's pretty much it. We're gonna switch over quickly to, so I basically showed why you should use Svelte and atproto, and that you can do cool shit with that. But I didn't really show any cool examples. So we'll see that now, and then we'll do questions afterwards together. Yep. All right, Evelyn, take it away.
Okay. I hope I can be heard. Great. All right, I got a thumbs up. Okay, cool. So you saw some, oopsies, shit. Hang on, sorry. This is not, fuck. Let me try clipping it here. You can still hear me okay? Okay, dope. Yeah, so you saw some nice, clean, well-designed stuff. I am going to show you why you should make shitty websites. Yeah, so the reason I'm kind of like more about like, making like crappy websites is because a lot of the UX patterns that we kind of follow today are all sort of like heavily driven towards, basically how do we get users to actually stay on a website? So how do we kind of keep using it? Or, how do we kind of keep them to like we really want people to kind of engage with it, keep using the website, kind of keep working with it and such. Basically kind of like we just look for ways to kind of like create addiction to make them kind of get that, that nice release of chemicals in the brain to make you feel really, really happy, so to speak. And so, generally what happens is, oh, why isn't this playing? This is supposed to play. Oh no. Flo, what did you do to it?
I didn't do anything.
It wasn't working. Actually, show me the controls. Yeah, I'll just do it this way. Okay. Yeah, so this is like Instagram, for example, where you're scrolling through and you're constantly like throwing like suggestions and ads, like everywhere. It's constantly just throwing information at you, kind of keep you looking at it. And you're kind of, okay, let me go to messages. Let me actually, swipe back to my feed. Like, oh no, now I'm in a viral feed. And now I'm like, oh shit, interesting content. I'm like, okay, let me actually look at what interests me. So then you go to your following, and then there's this bad experience of like, oh, actually switching to it causes this long delay, which actually encourages you to stay in your main feed and kind of like continue scrolling and looking at the content there, and eventually you go into the viral feed because it's always fresh information. And this is kind of like what I say, like this like addictive behavior, like doom scrolling. This is kind of what it's designed for. Or another option, I gotta do this manually, is where because they're so heavily focused on like how do we advertise events to the user, you end up with this broken experience. Like I literally opened these up today. And it's because I don't have activity for it to show to me. It just now starts looping through like the sponsored recommended content, which is just like one thing. And so that's where I say like, UX kind of doesn't actually think about the actual experience for user. It's more just thinking about, how do we actually get them to kind of like generate money for us? And so if I look at Blue Sky, oh, there's no animation, whatever. So if I look at Blue Sky, there's different features in here where we say like, yes, blue sky, there's no algorithm, super easy to work with. But then looking at the app or the website, we already see sort of like, it's like, oh, hey, you have your different feeds. So you can easily switch between it. As soon as you get bored of it, you can jump to a different feed. Basically have like 2 different ways to look at your feeds. There's also the trending topics to kind of encourage you to basically kind of like keep exploring through the interface and maintain like, a presence in the app. Similarly, if I go to actually my feeds, I immediately kind of get like a suggestion of like more feeds to explore and more content to consume. So that's why I say like even, on the protocol, we still see, this necessity to kind of like drive user engagement and retention, rather kind of like trying to think about what's different that we could actually do is to kind of create another form of like microblogging and kind of persist these patterns. And so this is sort of where I say that we kind of need to throw away the last 20 years of social media, not social media, it's like UX patterns, and kind of like think about what it means to not really think about user entrapment, so to speak. And so that is why I made Twinkle, which is one of my favorite websites ever. So yeah, so Twinkle is basically my love letter to the early 2000s. It's the easy way to kind of describe it. It's also built in the protocol. And I basically wanted to kind of create something where it's, it's sort of like, let's kind of give more agency to users, so to speak. And so this is why it looks so horrifying, is because you can't make it just how you want it to. And so the one thing I did bring back is, yes, there is a top 8. We need a reason to be upset over things that are actually just stupid. And so this is what I kind of want. And so the other part is basically that by the way, this is all created with Svelte, to be very, very clear. Like this is 100% Svelte application written from the ground up. And so one of the things is basically like, hey, let's actually make it easier to like kind of customize the user's experience. So I could be like, oh, that's not very easy to look at. This is better. Sebastian's not here to complain about readability. And so it's basically just like nice little effects that we can do, changing it, give us a nice little kawaii look. We want to make things more glowy. I want the sparkly cursor trail, but that blends in too much. So I'm going to make that blue. There we go. That looks nice. Yeah, or you can even like customize it fully with your own CSS styling if you really want to, and how posts are decorated. And so with nice little previews. And so the other part is that, so the top 8 is also actually a lexicon record that Phil was talking about. So when you actually create your top 8, it immediately saves it. And then you can actually references that to actually kind of identify who it is. And so every time a post that is the top 8, you kind of get this nice little highlight. And you kind of see that there's like I'm logged in as Flow because I don't want to use my credentials, is that the user's post, so other people who use it, they kind of get their kind of like their content, actually, their styling bleeds through into the feed. So as a result, you end up with sort of like this nice personalized. By the way, you can now see actually it's really obvious when it's a reply. I'm trying to scroll down to myself. There we go. Yeah. And so then we see like my own experience kind of blows through. So you can kind of see my own styling. So you kind of have like this actually personalized feed of like what other people are doing on Twinkle. And then the main part was actually to bring back. So I hope some people remember MySpace, was to basically kind of bring back the effect of MySpace. And so this actually is kind of recently, I kind of like was inspired by Blento. And so the different thing, also to say speak, is that these are actually Dazzle tiles. And so Dazzle tiles are, it's basically, it is a, how do we actually create reusable components that you can use in any browser or any page. And so basically you kind of create this like, it's basically effectively sandbox content. And so a tile basically has a manifest, dictating like what resources it has with it. And then from there, you can just like have a bidirectional communication. So you could have 2 tiles that actually talk to each other, or you could have an application actually, let's say like showing like polling results, updating live. or people interacting in one tile that kind of get communication in a different one, like perhaps using Eero, for example. And so basically when you kind of go to customize, you kind of see this nice little grid where I can kind of move things around. And I can kind of create a tile, and there's a full WYSIWYG editor. And then when I create tile, that actually generates a Dazzle tile and saves it also back on atproto into your repository. So all of this, or you can have one that's actually pre-made, or you wrote it up yourself because it's just like HTML and CSS and JS at the end of the day. You can actually reference the address and import it. So if I go back to the top friends, because it's not a good way to look up users yet, I need to get back here. So if I go to this one, my personal styling comes through. You know, I have my own personal song I picked out, banner, everything, a clock, and then Minesweeper. So fully functional. I could play Minesweeper. I just died. Yeah. And then also there is this nice little guest book. So this uses, so Flo already mentioned it. So this is actually being powered by Microcosm. So Microcosm is effectively a global edge cache of atproto. And so there's different ways you can use it. And so what's happening here is that every time somebody, when he writes a post, a comment on it, it creates a record in his repository that's referencing my digital DID, or document identifier. So my basically unique ID for a person. And so what I do is that when this page loads, it makes a request to Microcosm saying, hey, I want to find every guest book record referencing this DID. And then it gives me back a list of them. And then I take that list and I send another request to a different source of Microcosm saying, hey, can you hydrate these record references for me? And then that's how I build this in real time. So this is not going through an app view that has to like index all the content, save into a database. It's just on the fly, just hitting Microcosm to kind of get all the data out of it. Yeah, and so that's kind of like where it's going. And then, you know, once again, create a nice style. You can publish it yourself. And then you have a nice little gallery to kind of look through it and see what they can do with it. And there's a nice little feedback thing. And so that is one thing I've created. To kind of talk about atproto a little bit is, so for North Sky, I built a pronouns labeler. So a labeler is a moderation service, effectively, kind of like it's basically watching for events and then emits a label for a post or an account. And people have built some interesting things around it where they've actually kind of built like, you know, games, for example, where like based off of interactions that actually will kind of give you a score. This one is because on the on atproto, the Blue Sky app doesn't actually show pronouns, even though it's part of the profile lexicon. And so what we do instead is that we use a label. So you can actually pick one and then save it. And then basically what this does behind the scenes, it likes a post because people are used to liking posts to get labels. And then the labeler is listening for events to those posts and then basically then adds a label to the user. But this also has an additional feature where if you're using an app that uses the profile lexicon pronouns field, it picks it up. And I was like, oh, hey, your profile pronouns are actually set. Do you want to just match it to the existing label? And so I just say, yep, go for it. Behind the scenes, likes a post, labeler picks it up, labels the account. Anybody subscribed to the pronouns labeler will now see that label appear on all of his posts. And so allow sort of like we're persisting it in the lexicon, but we're also kind of like showing it to people who are using apps that don't actually make that pronoun field visible to the experience. Yeah, and then the last thing, this is just purely Svelte because I build weird things. There was so Atmosphere conference that was fully streamed on Streamplace. And at the end of the event, Eli from Streamplace took all the VODs, the video on demand files, and saved them into a PDS. And they said, okay, we're gonna do a 2-week contest. I want you to build a way to browse it. And so we had all the scheduling information. And so people built really interesting ways like kind of like to browse the events, look at the schedules, build some interesting experiences, to like watch them. And I made a video game because why not? Oh no. Okay.
I've collected them all.
You collected. He ruined my demo.
I had to click new game. But I don't know if you can do that now. Maybe if you reload.
Yeah, play the cook new game. There we go. Sorry. Yeah. So so I made a fully interactive video game because I could. Once again, this is all powered by Svelte because Svelte is actually a very flexible framework. I'm going to be very honest. That is Boris, by the way. I convinced my daughter to make a sprite version of him. Yeah. And so it's basically where, we kind of like do a rendering where we kind of like, we pulled, we use the scheduling information to find all the different talks and then populate a grid with all the profile icons of the speakers. And so then basically I can then kind of go through, pick one, I have the information about it. This is all pulled off of the protocol. And none of this information is actually saved locally or saved in the application, except for the profiles pictures, because I need to pixelate them. And then I just collect them over time. And so then what that does is that once you finish collecting them, you can then actually publish your score, which is saved as a record. And then this browser is so confusing. Okay. Sorry. It's a German keyboard. Did I write that right? Yes, I did. Yeah. And then it uses Hubble, which is another microcosmos service, where I was basically like, hey, give me a list of every single leaderboard record. And then I just sort it by time, and this becomes a leaderboard for this video game that I made. Yeah, so it's basically, I use Svelte because it's flexible and pretty easy to work with and pretty dynamic. And then I just built all these things for different purposes because I could. And at no point did I think, how do I make this pretty and easy to work with? Let me make something that you can do whatever you want with. Like that. Yes, so now people are going to question Flo why they're not in his top 8.
Yeah. And why Jerry is in that.
We have a microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if it wasn't clear also, that's also Blue Sky data, right?
Yes, yeah,
That-
this is Blue Sky. So if you switch over to Blue Sky app, you have the exact same feed. So that's one thing is like, this is basically showing all the different feeds that Flow has. Little top 8, save, messages, notifications, everything. So it's very similar.
So it's the same data behind it, just this reskin.
No,
A
it's not.
complete
It's not a
reskin. A
reskin.
complete, I mean, you know.
It's a new experience.
It's a new experience, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But you have, I heard you have like 45 million users on Twinkle, right?
Actually, I do. So that's what I do.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
Yeah.
Questions?
It's important we have this, we are streaming, so we need to hand over this microphone. Please speak into the microphone.
So this isn't 2 questions. This is 1 question and a comment. Okay, technically, with how dynamic the atmosphere is and atproto is, can I use Blue Sky to host an alternative to Blue Sky? Like, is it possible to host mu.social on Blue Sky itself because of how dynamic it is?
On that photo?
Yeah.
Sure, totally, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Blue Sky is also just a static page.
Yeah. So one way to think about it is that Blue Social, Twinkle, Black Sky, North Sky, we're all using the same social graph as Blue Sky. But we could actually create a separate social graph, and that basically means you kind of have like a totally different way of like following people. So there are people who have like built apps like grain.social, for example, is sort of like a photo blogging website. And there, you don't bring over your previous social graph. It's a totally new one just for Grain.
Oh, no, I meant to ask if, like, I can use atproto as an alternative to Cloudflare Workers itself, essentially.
Static pages, yeah, that's with.
Yeah, only
Okay.
static. Yeah.
Okay.
You still, if you want to do some compute, you need a computer.
Functions.at stores WASM blobs on atproto.
Okay. And they run server side or do they run client side? I mean, usually you have like some secrets, but yeah, anything is possible. We can just do things. I've heard like.
I really liked your explanation about Twinkle.social. I think you'd be really interested in. There's this YouTube channel called Not Just Bikes, which talks about urban development, mostly in the Netherlands. But they talk about how, well, it's very, very anti-car and pro-public transportation, and about redesigning cities to not have big roads, but rather smaller streets. But I really loved how you explained addictive behavior, and then like how we know how to make addictive behavior, but we also know how to not make it and like make something that's awesome instead. So I really love that.
Another question somewhere? Or remark?
I guess this is kind of a two-parter. Evelyn, are you familiar with NeoCities?
Yes.
Okay. I wonder if there's maybe a place for making easy pluggable pieces that you could just kind of plop into some type of NeoCities websites that would be atproto like kind of like compatible. Is there anyone that's worked on that, or do you know of anything like that?
So I know there's a few people working in different ways to do that, like Lento is one thing. So
Dazzle. You already have that.
and like Dazzle tiles. Well, I was gonna say Dazzle tiles. So like that's what the Dazzle tiles actually are. The other part is that Robin is the one who's kind of like working on the Dazzle tile framework. So right now it's one directional, and he's working on actually adding protocols, so you can actually send information to it or receive information from it. And the other thing I convinced him to do was actually to build a Svelte rendering tile. Because one of the things I'm going to be working on is because like the builder right now is very much like a WYSIWYG HTML, not so nice. And so the next thing I'm going to work on in the future, I don't know when, I have different jobs, well, mostly AT protocol work, but I have actual thing on page to do, is to, give me that microphone. Yeah, so to actually make it so that we can actually have like Svelte templating, that you then use that to actually create an experience with it. And so you can actually just kind of like dump Svelte in, and then it renders the actual like, component for you. And so that'd be kind of like, that's kind of like the thing that I'm working on, because with the tiles, you can effectively kind of do that, where you have like these components, kind of like just build your own little tiny website with it.
So it sounds like there's some tools already. That's awesome. Thanks.
I'm doing that for Blanche too. We really should talk.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Any other question? I mean, we can also have a discussion. It's not like a, we're not at an IBM launch event.
And I know you're just in love with the glitter. I know it's mesmerizing. Sorry, random thing. I noticed for myself, so I have like ADHD, is when I only have the back sparkle turned on, it's actually easier for me to actually navigate the feeds, because there's something about like this background noise that just kind of like allows my brain to like focus better. So it was a really weird phenomenon I noticed a couple days ago.
Oh, I'll go with a quick question. I really liked the, this moving away from addictive behavior and moving more into being intentional with it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried also? Because I mean, the styling is cool. You have the little off like angles when you get replies and so.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried like different directions for scrolling or different ways of showing the feed that is not just the vertical? I already like the fact that you have like the feeds on the side instead of on top.
Yeah.
But have you played around with ideas of other layouts?
I've just been like adding in features as I get to them, and I know that I've actually been thinking about like, what's a different way to interact with feeds that's not just like a scroll. Like for example, one thing is like, this is more because I didn't implement it, but I realized it's actually better. There is no infinite scroll. Like you scroll and you just hit a bottom. And that's it. And that's like a signal to you like, oh, I should actually maybe do something different. Or you can refresh and keep going, but you have to make an intentional action for it. Yeah, but like, I mean, like if anybody has suggestions, there is actually a feedback thing in the corner. uses a user input. So you could actually just like drop a suggestion in there, like a different thing I could add or tweak or something. I'm very open to seeing what else I can do.
Which is another atproto app.
It is.
I was just going to ask, how do I sign up? Do I have to make a new account? For...
No, it's actually your atproto account
What?
or your atmosphere handle.
More questions somewhere? Yes.
This is all browser based, right? And a lot of people are used to mobile apps, iPhone, Android. Do you see a way to go into this? Like,
Yes, Svelte actually makes it very easy to build mobile apps.
Soon, hopefully, even easier, right?
Yeah, soon. So I was actually looking at it last week, and I need to try it, but it seems fairly straightforward. I just feel that I want to kind of like adjust some things. Like somebody mentioned actually yesterday, because I have like this whole like Starfield in the background, was like something I want to look at as actually later on. It's like, okay, can I actually use like on a mobile device, can I actually have it influence it somehow? So there's different things I want to kind of like try out. Yeah, but I think right now it's like, it's very much, it is a web app that people can work with. In the future, yeah, mobile apps, why not?
But in general, I think the nice thing about the web is that there's no gatekeepers, right? And the nice thing about atproto is, again, that there's no gatekeepers. I don't have to ask anyone if I want to do something. I just do it. Mobile does have some gatekeepers.
Yeah, like I would do it. I would only do Android because it's really easy to have marketplaces there. iOS, they now do, by European regulations, have an alternate store you could install. But I still have to pay or get a MacBook to build the application. So there's a lot of barriers, and that's why I feel like web apps are still a bit easy to work with. And there's also a AT store where you can actually browse and see what all the different things are, because people built so many that it's hard to keep track. And so this actually just makes it very easy to kind of like look and see what you can actually do on the protocol.
More question? Because like I have one question to Flo. Did I get it like right that you built a static website, but then you added login auth with Blue Sky, but it's a static website, right? Can you maybe explain a bit like how it works?
I don't actually know.
You want to explain auth, or I can totally explain it.
Please.
But yeah, okay, you go. It uses atqueue. That's what I know from like my perspective, and that handles all of it. But you explain what it actually does, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying. They actually had to figure this all out a few months ago. So when you have an account, you basically you sign for an account, and that's stored on a PDS or a personal data server. And every PDS also acts as a OAuth server. Also, for Blue Sky, they did things a little differently because like they have like tens of millions of users, so they have like a whole network of PDSs that they call like sort of like the mushroom system. Daniel, I forgot what it's called. Yeah, the micros. Yeah.
All of our servers are named after.
Yeah, exactly, because Jay loves mushrooms. And so they have an entry in front of it. So it's like sort of like a gateway you have to kind of go through. And so that system, that acts as the OAuth server, so like authorization and resource server. And so that allows any application just looks up which PDS you're on, and then it just initiates an OAuth session with it. And then basically that's when you log in, and then it issues a token for you. And then the application then uses that to actually interact with your data, tell you to write records. And so within the OAuth, you actually have scopes. So if, I need you to type in your handle. So this, for example, PDSLS also logs in with OAuth. And this allows you to, and actually has a nice little thing where you can actually, you set the OAuth scopes. And so let's say I don't want to modify. Well, actually, we say we only want to update records. What just happened? Did you mistype your handle?
Maybe. I feel like that's correct. Right?
Okay, well, okay, fine. We're just gonna update records. Let's try that again. There we go. Yeah, and so then basically what that does is this URL, this is actually going to, how do I turn on the address bar? Address bar.
npmx.social.
Yeah, so it actually is going to his PDF where his account is stored. And it basically then, you see like the authorization, and then the client ID is the URL to PDSLS, referencing the OAuth client metadata that actually kind of reports like, hey, I need these scopes, I need this information, and so on. And that basically initiates the session. And if he authorizes it, then the token is then basically returned and the scopes to that client to actually work with it.
Where's the token stored in that case then? Because
Yeah, it's fully locally.
so on the server, on the personal, I forgot the name. No,
No,
on the
in
okay,
the
on
browser,
machine.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a way to generate long-running tokens. It's not a good practice, but it is possible. But this one by default is basically valid for 2 weeks, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more questions?
So atproto seems awesome, and it's very automatable and everything. How do you prevent people from spamming or creating AI agents that essentially like impersonate you? How is it? Yeah, how does one prevent atproto from turning into the digital matrix essentially? Like, as in prevent like it's prevented just becoming people talking to bots or the dead internet.
So first, you travel back 10 years.
Okay.
No,
Or 20, or 20.
not 20 years. I think the blue sky answer is access is free or whatever, but reach isn't. Right? So you moderate reach. You say, hey, you can make an account and you can post whatever, but I won't show you in my app because you're a bot or something. And there's a whole moderation thing, which I think the atproto, the official docs are actually very good there.
Do you want me to give like a 10-second rundown?
Do give a 10-second. Yeah, I mean the North Sky labeler.
Yeah. So because I'm also like a director at North Sky Socials, we're basically building a social media platform on atproto for LGBT plus people we're based in Canada because Trump sucks. And so there's moderation is a critical aspect. And so, like I said, the reach as one big part of it. So basically, you moderate, you subscribe to a labeler, or that's one option, is a composable moderation aspect. The other one is you gate the access effectively. So Blue Sky has an app view. So whenever you're using a social app, like the Blue Sky app or Moose Social, Twinkle, or whatever, and you log in and browse through the feeds, you're actually sending requests to the app view with that feed saying, hey, I would like to be able to view these things. And then you can interact with people. And so when you're doing that, the app view also listens to moderation services, and always is a key one that it listens to. And so Blue Sky has a moderation service that's actually really, really good, where they kind of they catch bots and spam and everything, and they issue what's called a takedown or a suspension. It might be permanent, could be temporary. And the app view receives that event emitted by the moderation service, and then basically issues that takedown. And then let's say I get suspended. I try to log into the Blue Sky app and I'm just blocked. So I cannot look at, I can't request feeds, and that basically prevents me from interacting with people. And so that's generally the main way of kind of limiting the reach of these accounts. It's also if I were to create an account on Blue Sky's PDS network and I start doing some spammy activity, they actually issue a full suspension on my account, and I cannot log into that account again. That's the other way of doing it. So there's different ways of actually moderating. You can either moderate directly on the PDS or through an app view. And that basically means they can say hey, everybody in this cluster using this app view, we know we can actually kind of protect them in a way. But at the end of the day, atproto is a protocol that is locked open, and that allows bots, AI agents to actually use it. It's sort of we expect them to kind of behave well in a way.
Yeah, I'm. I mean, this is the only. I mean, you guys have been awesome otherwise, but this is the only thing I'm finding myself very skeptical with, because, I mean, if you have limits and if I created a bot and if I was a nefarious entity, I could I could ensure that instead of having one bot, I would have hundreds of bots with limited reach, which do not spam regularly. I mean, I feel like I can think of many ways to bypass this entire system and break through those rules. Yeah, but yeah.
Join the white hat side and build better detection algorithms. Use the web of trust that is built into every system. Every post is authenticated. Every post is tied uniquely to an account manager. Actually, there's an app called youandme.at we can demo here where real humans can meet each other and keep a record of their accounts.
But you're right to worry. Blue Sky
Yes.
is full of bots.
But again, so is everything else. I mean,
Yeah.
go back to Twitter and there's no bots there. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
Reddit is just like the whole internet is just bots, honestly. Like, yeah, there's not really a good answer. Like, the atproto answer is not great. No one else has a great answer either, honestly. This is the same problem everywhere.
Well, there's
Like, not an implemented one at least.
I mean, there's obviously trade-offs to this and censorship and other things, but like, I guess we can use I mean, there's always like the lobsters approach. Like, you can create a tree of people. The only way you can get in is if like somebody else, recommends you to the platform. There's I don't think I mean Blue Sky might have to eventually put in like persona or similar scanning. Boo, I know. But yeah, that's also another option. So I think there are options out there which can be taken, which can definitely.
That's how the system started with invites.
Yeah.
I'm user 23 on the system because of this guy. So yeah, a lot of those things are baked in.
Yeah, and so like I think Your Sky is doing one thing. So basically, like, they allow verification of users also. So Blue Sky verifies people, but then Your Sky also has one, and they also have a system like delegated verifiers, sort of like the lobster approach you just mentioned. And like there are ways to do it, but the thing is like the compulsive moderation enables people like to run their own moderation service to do like the spam detection.
I think the main thing here to focus on, it's an open system as a community, not as a protocol. Protocol doesn't love you back. Only your community does that. A lot of us believe we have a chance to build a really great open system. And it's kind of an open system without reservations, right? So bad stuff will come in, but we're working together to figure out how to improve it at different layers. In a lot of other systems, I personally really try not to do Blue Sky should, because I don't have to ask permission, can launch new social and decide to run verification at scale. And npmx is actually a verifier too, right? So you can literally meet a person here and they can say, we met this person and we're going to verify their account. Right? Like, we have this really great open protocol and we're trying to add people on top. Make sense?
That makes sense, yeah. Thanks.
Well, I was gonna hop in also because you're right about it, that the spam is like a problem, and it's like, but it is like also a problem with just the web in general and with social networks in general. And Blue Sky is trying to address it. We have someone full time that fights spam waves using like pretty traditional strategies for doing that. Everything's complicated like slightly by, or maybe more than slightly, by the fact that it's an open network, because it's easier to create an account and you don't have to, you can create an account on the network while having no sort of relationship with the Blue Sky service at all. And so that kind of like decreases maybe the tools at your disposal for determining if it's a bot or not. The benefit of being on an open network is that a lot of these signals are open, and so it's not just Blue Sky that can like look at the network and try to figure out spam rings and whatnot. Other folks can do it as well. I think long term it probably looks like, as Boris was saying, finding like positive trust signals. Like, a lot of spam detection right now is based off of like negative signals, and instead flipping it and saying and finding positive trust signals for why you should trust an account, rather than trying to figure out signals for why you should not trust an account. Because I kind of think that that's the only way you respond to people being able to create arbitrarily many accounts in an open network. So, not an easy answer, but It's a hard problem. Hopefully we'll figure something out.
Yeah, I think because one problem is like Black Sky has its own membership layer that it uses. North Sky, we do invite vetting. So basically we have like a wait list of like 7,000 accounts or 7,000 people. And we actually go through and check each one for different criteria. I'm not going to say it out loud because there's so many people like chasing us. Be like, why am I not getting an invite? Well, like there's like a huge list. But it's sort of like, we check, make sure they abide by community guidelines and everything, and then they get an invite. So that's a way of kind of verifying that they're actually authentic people. But the thing we admit is that we cannot moderate at the scale that Blue Sky does. So as a result, we do actually rely on Blue Sky for a lot of moderation services, kind of like identify the bots and the spam and those things, because I have quite a bit of expertise behind that. There are also people out there who are basically volunteer running their own detection network. So sometimes I will get somebody reports to our labeler saying, hey, these 5 accounts are like AI spam. I take those 5 accounts, I pass along this person, and they identify a network of 2,000 accounts. And then we basically then like, no, we can mark those, and then it gets reported to Blue Sky, for example. So that's why so I think like Boris has a really good thing where it's like the people are on top of the protocol, and that's kind of like working together very tightly to kind of see if we can actually build a safer space for these users or this community.
Any more questions? Because since we have engineers from Blue Sky here, I have a question. When is two-factor support coming, which is token-based, or passkey support?
You should use Tranquil PDS, which supports this already. I'm not exactly sure when it's coming. But we are working on like account management updates for the PDS, and I think that that actually shipped with email 2FA for the OAuth page. So now we at least have like the area where that would go. And I know some folks on the team are talking about doing it, but I don't know if we have any timeline on it or anything. People are aware of the fact that we need to do that. You can keep putting pressure on me.
No, I will, but like you will enable it through protocol as well, right? So then it will become available to other. It's already available. Oh, so it's a Blue Sky thing. Oh. Okay, I think we need to do this atproto crash course like once a month.
So you could also pressure npmx, who have their own PDS hosting, to just implement that, or your Sky, or Black Sky, or North Sky.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. Or you just, hey, Raspberry at home, plug in, install Tranquil.
I also want to point out to npmx that Bailey is part of the core team, who is the AT protocol PDS daddy. So I feel like he should be able to pull it off. That's a good question for him.
Because he's learning Rust or using Rust. Evelyn, I did not realize that you were the director of North Sky.
I'm one of 3.
One of 3. Yeah. Can you maybe like explain to us or tell us like what does it take to run like what you are doing? You are running PDS. I know that I think Eurosky is currently raising like 100,000 euros or so to cover the costs. What does it look like? What does it take to run such a PDS server?
So one thing I'll say is that we're a social cooperative. So it's basically where we are fully worker run and effectively owned. And also as a result, we're fully donation driven. We occasionally do get grants for very specific things. But for the most part, it's basically like it's literally our users in the community who are like donating and funding North Sky. That's what I'm want to be clear of. And so for us, it's because we're all effectively volunteers. It's like, we have the PDS up and running. We recently launched our moderation service about a little over a month ago after it's like a long alpha phase. And we're actually partnering with Black Sky because they have a lot of trusted safety experience. And basically they're working together kind of like to define our SOPs, so basically our processes around moderation services and how we can kind of improve ours and adjust our labels, what's the better practice for doing things. And for us, it's basically like we want to kind of like create a safe space for people to actually exist and to kind of like communicate and work together. And that's why private data for us has been a big thing. Like we developed a private data service I need to write the blog post about it. But basically, I reviewed the permission spaces specification that Daniel put together. And while people are like kind of going nuts over the fact of like, oh my God, spaces, there's like a new, like we're not using MST, is that Daniel actually did a lot of work to actually improve one critical aspect that I was worried about. The reason we didn't launch our private data service is that we couldn't verify the identity of a person very well with the mechanisms in place. And so I encourage you to read his diaries and the protocol specification. There's some really good things introduced there that we're going to use, because for us, it's basically, we have zero trust in any tech. We assume anything can be hostile to us, because we basically literally have like marginalized communities working, like living on our work, or sort of like using our services. And as a result, they're constantly targeted. And that's something we're actually like, that's when I see like, what does it take to actually build it? It's not so much like, hey, we have a PDS, we have a moderation service, we're gonna have a social app, For us, it's always like, what can we do to protect our community and to make them feel safe?
It takes a gang, kind of, yeah. You were the closing of thoughts? I mean, maybe like,
we
are
can
we
also-
on time, or do you have more energy for more questions?
I mean, I'm fine, yeah, sure, but we could also wrap it up at some point and just like talk together.
Yeah, you can just like tackle us with questions later also, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hang around here a bit, right? Still?
Yeah, or we go
Oh,
and
watch the soccer thing in Trump country. Okay.
Why'd you say soccer? We're in Germany.
Right, sorry, I was kidding. So we mostly covered Svelte, we covered atproto, we even had Blue Sky, npmx. You want to join the stage? Give the closing remarks. I mean, when Matthias is coming to the front, it's basically like he connects all of us. He connected all of us. And also with Evelyn, we had this anecdote, because we were queuing for the food queue, and then we started talking, but actually about the food. And I was like, Evelyn, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm building apps with Svelte. And I was like, excuse me? I was like, and atproto apps, local first apps. I was like, you want to give a talk? And Evelyn was like, yeah, sure. I did not know what Evelyn's doing. Like, we never met before, and now we are here. Father, please.
Yes.
Another round of applause for
Yeah.
them. Do you want to go first? Or I go first? Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to say first two things. One thing is like, I really like that this meetup is called atproto, npmx, Svelte, and actually we ran out of character because we wanted to continue and put Vue and Nax and like all the other friends that are around here. And yeah, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot for like working on really cool things. I think that several of the people around here were in local first conf. Some others were the week before in like the web camp. Some others are going to continue to go to the IETF in Vienna. Tomorrow is a Vienna meetup. And I think that is very nice, and it shows this idea of how many like names we have, like so many projects we have in the title, how we are all working together. These meetups are, and these conferences are very cool because we're not making new friends, we're making new connections, and this is actually how we end up like growing all our projects together. We have always been working like this with like in Vite, in Svelte, in Nax, in like atproto also. Like even like atproto pushes us to have like these like common lexicons that even like make us talk even more to get together. So yeah, thanks a lot. This is like, after this we go and we continue to build together.
I didn't really prepare anything else to say, but again, thank you for coming. There might be people forgotten off this list because there's probably an easily broken record of the amount of people involved in a meetup. And so I got Flo, Evelyn, Ilya, BitCrowd for hosting, me, Matthias, Jens, Boris, Philippe, Code Rabbit Food, James, 43081J, Santosh and Ruti from CodeRabbit. Yeah, and then all of you for coming. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of running around and sorting venues and talking to people involved in meetups, but it's so fun to run them and like get involved. So if there is not something that like scratches that itch in your local area, then start one. And if you want tips, and there's so many of us that you can reach out to who've been doing this for a little bit now and still don't know what they're doing, but it works. So yeah, cool. Thanks.
And thanks a lot in particular to Willow and Ilya that they run a lot more than the others here to organize behind the scenes. So yeah, thanks a lot.
You're free to go. Or, well, eat the pizza if there's any left.
And we are going to be